We're going to go into the area of gender differences, and actually this question fits into that. It's talking about how are men and women's roles different today. But one thing that I also want to do is that traditional, if you've been a stay-at-home mom, we have a question from Yolanda. Thank you, Yolanda. Why is it hard to prove that stay-at-home moms have to work too? We don't get paid for what we do, and not enough people recognize the importance of our role. And so I'd like to sort of get that as a segue into gender differences, because of course this is what many, many women have done for a long time, and is sort of whether you're doing it as the first shift or the second shift or the round-the-clock shift, why is it that stay-at-home work is not really appreciated?
You know, I get asked that question a lot just because of the nature of what the Mom Corps actually does, and oftentimes we take someone who's stayed at home for a period of time and return them to work. So I get asked that a lot. And I think the perception, I'm not saying that this is correct, I think the perception is that one has control over their time when they're a stay-at-home mom. And when we're talking time management, the issue is control, right? And when that's not, in fact, true. A child, as we all know, is not controllable, and you cannot control what happens during a day for a stay-at-home mom. But I think that that's where the misconception really is. And, you know, in my opinion, I think that we judge each other too difficult. We're too difficult on each other. Rather than creating networks of people that can help each other, we look to sort of justify our own decisions by criticizing the other camp. And to me, that is a lack of confidence, honestly. I made my own decision to do what I'm doing because this was right for me, but it could be not right for someone else, and I am not in a position, nor should I, judge that person. I should help lift that person up.
See, yeah, this is Marie again. You know, I was a manager in a very large company before I had my children, and then I had my children, and then I wound up staying at home. So I went from having all these responsibilities at work to getting promotions and, you know, salary increases, all this, back down to having nothing really in my mind because I had that business sense of mine going on. And I almost felt like I wasn't, even though I was home raising the kids, I almost felt like I wasn't doing anything because I wasn't making money. So I felt that insecurity. I felt my entire personality just sink. You know, I'm no longer getting a pat on the back. I'm no longer, you know, having someone telling me how great of a job I'm doing. So you don't get that when you're home. And I really do think that being the home is a very, very difficult thing. You're raising not only yourself and managing the house, but you're also raising children. And it's tough, and it's almost like nobody realizes how hard it is. And I think women start to get, like you say, they get a little insecure in that sense, and they lose themselves.
I'm not sure, even if you're a stay-at-home and you're running your own business, whether you get the confidence boost. I was a VP of digital media at a very large firm and always felt very powerful, but was having work life. Went off to do my own company, had 9 subcontractors working with that company, but worked at a home office, and found that people basically, when you said you're an entrepreneur and you were a woman, they looked at you like you were cute. And they still expected you to sort of do the laundry and vacuum and, you know, pick up other people's children and that sort of thing, that they assumed that you were in that role. No matter how powerful you might be or what your tax return said, you were still a stay-at-home mom, and I felt it acutely. And it really gave me some insight into what the other side deals with after coming out of the corporate world. My best friend is a stay-at-home mom, and I think I'm a much better friend to her now that I've sort of seen the other side.
I think, too, now that because of the recession, which has been called the man session because of how many men have been laid off, there are a lot of stay-at-home dads, you know, by necessity, and a lot of women either stayed in work or went back to work. And so, sadly, I guess we don't really care why it changes, but sadly, it's changing because now the men have to do it. And I think that the men are realizing, oh gosh, this is really hard, possibly harder than what I was doing before. And I think that the role of the stay-at-home mom, husband, whatever it is actually starting to get a lot more respect because of that.
And Maria, that is a great point, and you were talking about earlier about a survey having to do with men desiring flexibility. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, the Mom Corps actually recently ran a survey of the 75,000 candidates that we have in the system, and we were really surprised at some of the results. A larger percentage of men, when asked the question, would you give up a percentage of your salary in exchange for flexibility, Surprisingly, a larger percentage of men would than women. Which is a first time for us. Typically we see women saying, happy to sacrifice 10% of my salary in exchange for equal amount of time to be with my family. Now, actually, the tables have sort of turned a little bit, and men are seeking out much more flexibility, and that percentage was actually a pretty significant, 5% difference between men and women, but that would have been very much flip-flopped in years past.
I think
that's interesting.
I think this is a great lead into our Women's Equality Day video. We've talked enough. We're going to take a breath here and let you guys watch another video.
I'm out on the streets of Atlanta to find out about this balancing act. We're asking real women how they feel about multitasking, overtasking, and the second shift. How do you balance your work and personal life?
With 3 dogs, it's a lot of work when I get home. It's a struggle.
If you're not behind the computer at home, then you're probably behind a vacuum cleaner, to be quite honest.
Do you think that men are equal to women these days?
My husband, I'm very thankful in that he does do some of the stuff at home, some of the cooking, helping with the kids, but still a majority of it falls on me.
Most of my friends who have families, they're also expected to be expert cooks and cleaners as well. So I think there's more demands on women.
You want to be a good mom and a really good professional, and I don't feel that pressure is there for men as much.